Welcome to Pulverostmannen and this requested video how to use FL Studio for beginners. So I'm gonna make it as easy as possible so you can get started with your FL Studio and get producing music. So after you install your program and open it up, you will see it like an empty project like this. And for new beginners, it's very hard to make anything work or sound or anything about it, so it can be very tricky to get started. So let's go and check out what you need to know and get started. So to begin, we can go to the Options tab up here and we can go to Midi settings. If you have an external keyboard such as I have, you need to activate it in FL Studio to work with the program. So if you got, for example, Axiom Air Mini, you need to press it on here and choose what type of controller it is. You can choose generic controller if it's not in the list, or you can choose the one that is most corresponding to the one you are using. So for example, my Keystation 49, it's best to use as an M-Audio Oxygen 49, and the second MIDI input, which is the express buttons, they go for the Frontier Design Alpha track to make them work. So it can be a bit of trial and error to see what kind of settings that works best for your keyboard. But once you press the enable here, it will go green up here and you will be able to use it in FL Studio. And what I use to know about here is the link note on velocity. I usually use none because I don't like to hit the keys so hard all the time, so it makes my production a bit more soft and comfortable in the length, as the pressure on the keys does not make the sound louder or lower. So depending on what you want to play, it can be useful to get this to velocity if you want to play like that, or none if you don't want it. So that's up to you. And on the audio tab, we can check here. Normally, for the best operation of FL Studio, you choose the ASIO for All version 2, and this dedicates the whole sound card directly to the program, and all external sounds are disabled in the program externally, so you will only be able to hear sounds made in FL Studio in your speakers when using ASIO for All, but you will get the best performance as well. Now, because I'm using a software to record the sound, I can't use the ASIO for All because nothing would be heard in there anyway. So I'm using the normal audio output here, and it can be good to see the buffer length. I set mine to 45 milliseconds. The lower the better latency time you get. So if you play the keyboard, the less milliseconds you can use here will make the response much faster. But if you put it too low, you will get underruns and the sound will stutter. So you will need to test, depending on your computer's performance, how low you can go before the sound or underrun starts to go up. So you should put yourself somewhere where you can be around as low as possible, but not increasing in the underruns too much. And there can be some settings here you can test out, but most of them are set as standard. So if you hold your mouse cursor over something, you will get up here in the left corner here what it used to make here. So it's try this to improve performances, for example. So this standard baud rate is 44100, and usually the one that's recommended using in FL Studio, so you don't need to touch that. You can go to the general settings and you can make some kind of settings here to make the animations and stuff be different. I used to put entertain me because I want to. And here you can make the undo history, maximum undo levels. I use 100 on mine, and also enable knob tweaks. So if I turn a knob somewhere, I can disable or reverse this knob tweak as well, so I like to have it like that, and use both mouse buttons in step sequencer. So most of these settings are standard, so I usually, as I have several monitors, I like to check this button here, detach all plugins, because when this is done you will be able to drag the windows outside of FL Studio. So if you're using 2 monitors or more, you will like to check this one, so you don't have to go up here and detach all the windows separately. So this can be good to know if you have many monitors. And here on the project you can set how many beats per bar you have and stuff like this. Mostly nothing you need to change here, and you can put your information in your project here. You can have your name, title, your artist name, for example, comments on your project and stuff, and this will be seen on the exported file. So this is pretty easy to set up to begin. And when having a look here at the page, you got here on the left the browser, and this is normally where you find all your sounds, and you can make for example, if you like to add your own sounds, you can, for example, use here, normally goes under the local disk, program, image line, FL Studio 12, data and patches, and you can add your own folders here and copy your wave sounds or something that you want to put here, and it will directly be visible in your list on the left here. So if you're, for example, open up and you want to kick, you can just click the sounds and it will be played, so you can test out what ones you like. And this goes to the next window, the channel rack, and this is where you first start to sample your sounds. And to begin, if you play something, nothing at all will be played because you have nothing here that makes the sound go. So you got these 4 samples here as standard, and if you press your keyboard you can play the sound, or you can even use the keys on your typing keyboard here, such A, S, D, F and X, C, V, B. If you press these and have this button up here marked typing keyboard to piano keyboard, then your actual typing keyboard will act as a MIDI keyboard in a way, but there's only a few keys that works for this, so it's not so optimal as a real MIDI keyboard. But if you want to make it sound like this, you can left click and you will add a little knob here, and if you play, it will play the sound, and each one you put in you will get a kick. And if you want to remove them, you right click on the same ones again and you can remove them. So if we begin to have the kick here, you see the standard sample is not so fun, so if you want to use another one, you can take a sample, drag and drop it and put it right on top of the one that you want to replace, and then you will replace the sound that you got in your channel rack. So it's pretty nifty, and you can do the same for the other samples here. So if you may want to make a little sample here, you can press the plus and you can then name it drums, for example, and then you have a little sample that you can put in your playlist. You can paint it up. You got these little pins here that goes, the pencil will move a sample if you want to move it, but normally the paintbrush is the one that you're gonna use. So if you paint out these and you put in your little dots here to make it a kick, and you can disable this knob here to make it play the list or the actual channel rack. So now you got a kick in the playlist. So when you're using FL Studio, you will also use these top knobs very much here. And this one views the playlist, and you can show and hide it. This one shows and hides the channel rack. This knob here shows the piano roll that you will be using a lot with FL Studio. I'm gonna go back to this a bit more later. And the file browser, normally these are always visible, and the mixer. And I got my mixer here on the other screen over here, and this will also be used very much, and to add sound effects and stuff like that. So we will take a look at that more carefully later on. So like this, and when you got a little kick here, you may want to make another sample. For example, you make a synth, maybe make a sample here. You can add a little synth here. We can maybe you can drag and drop on the edge to make it longer. And on the plus here, you can press the plus and you can add the synths that you're going to be using. So let's take Harmor, for example, which is a synthetic synth, and it's very nice. On the top left, normally you got the presets, and these presets are the different sounds that you can play through this synth. So for example, analog bass, you can press the keyboard here and you will get the sound. So when this is marked here, you can press the sample that you want to edit, and you will press the piano roll, and you got the list here. So if you are using, you can put out the samples here, and they will play different, or you can press the key on your Midi keyboard and will mark out which key you're going to use. So we are using this one here, for example, and we are using this one here, and on top here we can play the sound. And these buttons here also represents, you can see you got this paintbrush tool here, which also is the standard way to do mark stuff in here. But I used to have the pencil. You left click to add the tone, and you right click to remove it. And while holding down Control and drag like this, you can mark the whole row. You can press delete to delete it, and if you want to undo, you can do it by clicking undo up here. You will get them back. But if you may want to copy this one, you can hold down Shift. You can take this note here, hold down Shift and drag it, and you will get a copy of that exact note. So when this one is added here, you will see the dots starts to grow up in this sample here, and when playing in the list, you can see it goes on here, and you can hear it cooperate with the other sound. So we can add another one here. Like that, for example. And we want to repeat this one again. We can go on and copy the row, holding down Control, mark it, and Shift to copy the row, and we can play the track again. And by clicking the notes, you can move them, or hear how they sound. If you double click them, you can also make them slide, which is a way to bend the sound. I can show you this a bit more later on, but this will be used in bending the sound, so making a note slide from here to here. You can do it by double click them and get this marked though, so it will slide, but it will be using a different way here, so I'm gonna show you that later as well. So holding down Shift, we can copy it again and again and again, how many times you may want to do it. And we can also zoom in on the playlist here by holding down Control and scroll up and down. We can go closer to see how the patterns look, or zoom out. And also we can use the bars here. We can drag the edge of it and do the same thing here. Same goes for this, the height. It's this little one over here on the top right here under the X. You can make the height of it change as well. So when we are using this simple beat, we can add another synth. We press the plus again and we can make a citrus, for example. This also got the same one here, that you can choose the presets and choose one from the list. You can use the arrow keys on the top right here as well to switch between the different sounds also. And we want to make another sample again. We use this plus up here to make the next sample, and we can call it melody, for example, and we can paint it in the playlist. And we can also see that this one here goes here, and we can press and view the piano roll, and we can press the keys on the keyboard again. We can mark by holding down Control and mark them and drag on the edge to make the notes longer, for example. You can hold down Shift to get the cutting tool, and you can cut through a note and make it a separate part like this. You delete them by pressing the right mouse key, mouse button, and you add them using the left button like this. So you can make a one like this here. And we can cut it like this, and we can go down like this. Cut it up like this and add it like that. And we can hold down Control, copy it by holding Shift, drag it up like this. And we can take this one over here. We're gonna use that's good enough, I think. And now we got the second pattern over here. It sounds a bit off. That's better. That's perfect. And we can go to add some more samples like this. We can take some free samples. This, for example, you can drag it up here and replace one that you like. And you can drop them in between the two ones without getting it green. It will add it to the list. And we can take it on the drum samples, for example. We can add hats as well. And we want to get the hat maybe like this or something. And now that you see, you may want to start adding these samples into your mixer. And you can do some tweaks on this channel rack here. The green buttons here on the left will mute a channel sound if you unclick it. You have a panning button that you can pan it to the left or right, and a volume button, and all added parts here will have it here on this channel rack. And you see these numbers here, and some are blank. And these numbers are represented on the mixer here. So you can see this has number 1, and it also got this on the insert 1 here. It means that the kick is dedicated to this first channel here on the mixer. And you can choose by holding down this one, and you can see you can move which one it's gonna play through. But I usually used to take and mark the kick, for example, and go over to the mixer and right click on insert 1, for example, channel routing, route this channel to this track. And you will see you get a name for it automatically. And you can do this with your other sounds as well. So I think it gets easier because the name will help you find it easier. So you can just do this for the ones that you want to have. And if you are using the Harmor, for example, you can also get a color for it. It will be automatic when you route it like this. It will go for the same color as you got on the button here in the mixer. And you can do it with the Citrus as well, like that. And you can make, you can change this one. You can have several audio samples in the same track, so you can have several ones at your will. And by having it in this playlist here, when playing, you're gonna see that all the samples here are played separately. And you can change the volume separately. And these are the same way as the channel rack over here, that you got these knobs. Then you can mute the whole mixer track, and you can pan it to the left and right, and add volume the way you want. And every single channel on this rack here got 10 slots. And these slots are dedicated to put effects in your sound. So, for example, if you want to put a reverb on your synth here, for example, you can make it by clicking the arrow here. And you can choose in your list here Fruity Reverb, for example. And you get this reverb plugin, and it will be bound to this channel sound rack. So you can make it a lot reverb if you want. The decay, damp and wet are mostly the ones that are used with the reverb, so these can be put in specific order because all the samples here passes through 1, 2, 10. So if you put reverb first, it will go through the reverb first, and then next slot and next slot again, and so on, and you can add different effects for the different sounds. So I'm gonna put this one on the other side now, and I'm gonna take the mixer tool track here. And it's too much reverbs like that, and we can make it less. And like this, you can just keep on repeating, adding your desired stuff here, and put it in your mixer. And you can use the piano roll, and you can copy and select stuff. Mostly the quick shortcuts are Control, which are used to mark a lot of stuff. So if you want to put a repeat on a certain part of the project, you can copy the whole thing by making this. Hold down Shift and drag it away from the marked section, and you got the exact copy. You can also press Delete to delete everything in the same marked region. So in this MIDI channel rack here, you can see you got this velocity control. You can choose to make a note velocity louder or lower by selecting different notes. So you can even mark these ones here. If you want to change the volume on these notes but not these, you can mark them first, and then you can take your pen and you will drag them down, and you see the ones that are not marked will stay in place, which is pretty handy. Or you can make like this, and you can readjust these separately instead. And you can also take them, but you see, if you try to put, it will drag the ones that are on the same row here, so it's mostly easier to just mark them and take them to place them where you want them. And the velocity is how hard the note will be played, so it will be louder the higher up these ones goes, and lower the lower they go. So it's pretty logic how this is done. And if you want to slide a note, we can make it like this. And you can, for example, if you want to copy this and edit it separately, you can have it marked and take this arrow key, and you can make a clone of the sample here. And you can put it in. It will be the melody number 2. And this one is separately from this one, so you can modify this one as much as you like without it getting changed in any way. So for example, if you want to slide, you can make it like that, because the slide note will only tell how fast the slide will be. So you make this one, double click it and put it marked like that, accept it, and it will play this note along here until it reaches this one here, and it will start to slide over the time and go down to this C5 note down here when it reaches the end. So when you listen to it, it will bend itself down to the desired position. But usually you can also copy this one. So you get the point. Sliding is a bit complex to begin, but it can be pretty fun and very useful to do it in some projects. So the way you want to make it take some time, so it's nothing I'm gonna do in this video to test out what sounds good or not. So it's just to show you how you can actually pitch bend the tones in the very playlist here, so in the piano roll. So when you got this little project of yours up here, we can also take a look at the mixer. And let's see, we can do it like this so that it's the same. And we can go over to this one here. We got this master channel that is very important to keep track on. Normally it got this fruity limiter, which is here, and I'm gonna detach it, and this one is the output that will limit the sound from clipping out of this project. So when playing the project, you can see the graph in this one. You can see it's limiting the sound somewhat, and you will need to make this a bit better when you're getting used to FL Studio. So for example, I mostly use Maximus to make the sound the way I want, and we can just take a very quick look at this one. Goes for Maximus, and I got it here. I normally close the limiter here and disable it by using the green button over here, and now the sound goes through Maximus instead. And Maximus is a 3-band equalizer that will filter, and you can use it to limit sounds and everything. So it's a bit complex for me to make in the first video here, but normally you can export the project directly with the fruity limiter, for example, but you will not get the desired sound in the end. So we're gonna take a look and put in the fruity parametric EQ2, and it goes from number 1 to 10 as we remember. So the equalizer should go before the mastering here. So for example, we can listen . Now we can say we are reaching the part that we want to export this project and make an actual MP3 file of it. So we can go back to the main window over here, and we can choose File and Export for MP3. And we get this list where we want to save it. I'm gonna use it as the project name here. Just hit Save. And we choose the MP3. We can mode full song, leave reminder, and 320 BPM or kilobits per second is the recommended. High quality for all plugins and some stuff like that. You can leave this as standard. You just hit start and it will automatically export the file, and you have done your first MP3 with FL Studio. This is gonna be the first part of my little guide here, so if you want to know more stuff or more details about everything, let me know, and I will make more videos of this. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.